why do girls need to study so much? At first glance, this question may appear innocent, even humorous to some. It is often whispered casually across dinner tables, uttered by grandparents steeped in tradition, or embedded in conversations about a girl's future role as a wife or mother. In many cultures around the world, particularly in conservative or patriarchal societies, such a question is not uncommon. It reflects a mindset that still sees girls' education as secondary, optional, or even unnecessary, something that should never interfere with domestic responsibilities, family obligations, or the path toward marriage. More troubling is that this question often goes unchallenged. It echoes not only in the voices of adults, but sometimes in the inner thoughts of girls themselves. When faced with societal pressure, limited resources, or restrictive norms, many girls grow up internalizing the idea that their pursuit of knowledge is less important than their appearance, obedience, or future family roles. Some may even feel guilt for wanting to study, as if ambition is an act of defiance. This cultural undercurrent is not confined to one region. Whether in a small rural village where girls are married off in their teens, or in an urban home where daughters are encouraged to study enough but not too much, the implication is clear. A girl's worth is still too often measured by her ability to nurture others, not to educate herself. And yet, we are living in the 21st century, a time defined by innovation, rapid global transformation, and powerful social movements striving for equality. In today's world, education is no longer a privilege, it is a necessity. It is the key that unlocks opportunity, empowerment, and lasting change, particularly for girls and women. To ask whether girls should study is not only outdated, it is dangerous. It threatens to hold back half the population from achieving their full potential, and by doing so, holds back humanity as a whole. When girls are educated, the ripple effects are profound. They gain the confidence to make their own choices. They secure better jobs, earn higher incomes, and lift their families out of poverty. They become healthier, more informed mothers, mentors, leaders, and agents of change. They raise the next generation with values of equality and intelligence. In contrast, when girls are denied education, the cost is not only personal, it is societal. Uneducated girls are more vulnerable to early marriage, exploitation, domestic violence, and a lifetime of dependency. Communities lose out on talent, creativity, and leadership. Nations lose out on economic growth, innovation, and justice. This video will explore in depth why girls' education matters now more than ever, not simply as a matter of human rights, but as a foundation for a better world. It will examine the transformative power of learning in a girl's life, from personal development and confidence, to economic independence and social contribution. We will challenge long-standing myths about the roles of girls and women, and illustrate how education does not take anything away from their value as daughters, wives, or mothers, but rather adds to it. Educating girls is not about turning them into something they're not. It's about giving them the freedom and tools to become who they truly are. 1. Education is the pathway to personal freedom. Education is not merely about acquiring a diploma or securing a job. It is, first and foremost, a means of understanding oneself, the world, and one's ability to choose the life one wants to live. For girls who are too often expected to be quiet, obedient, or self-sacrificing, education becomes a powerful tool for developing independent thinking. It allows girls to form their own beliefs, question unfair traditions, and make empowered decisions. A girl with a solid education can think critically, express herself clearly, and advocate for her own interests. She is less likely to be silenced by others' expectations and more likely to carve her own path with confidence and clarity. 2. Education leads to career opportunities and financial independence. No one can deny that education is a gateway to employment, financial stability, and long-term career growth. For girls, this is especially crucial. Being educated means being economically independent, which in turn leads to greater freedom and dignity. An educated woman is more likely to access higher-paying, skilled jobs. She is less likely to rely on others for survival and more likely to make informed, autonomous choices about her life. Financial independence also allows women to support their families, raise and educate their children, and contribute meaningfully to their communities. A girl who studies today may become the woman who uplifts not only her family but also her society tomorrow. 3. Education helps girls break the cycle of inequality. In many parts of the world, girls are still denied education, married off young, or restricted by traditional gender roles. But when a girl receives an education, she breaks away from a path that was predetermined for her, one that often leads to poverty, dependence, and limited opportunities. UNESCO has found that for every year a girl stays in school, her future income can increase by 10 to 20%. Moreover, educated mothers tend to have healthier children, provide better care, and prioritize schooling for their own daughters. This means that educating a girl doesn't just change her life, it transforms her family and interrupts generations of disadvantage and inequality. 4. Education fosters intelligence, confidence, and self-belief. Education is far more than the memorization of facts, formulas, and historical dates. It is a lifelong journey, one that nurtures curiosity, cultivates critical thinking, and builds a resilient belief in one's own potential. For girls who have often been socialized to be compliant, quiet, or hesitant to speak their minds, education is nothing short of revolutionary. It invites them to question the world around them, to explore their own ideas, and to believe that their thoughts and contributions truly matter. From the earliest years of schooling, when a girl is encouraged to ask why, instead of simply accepting what she is told, her intellectual foundation begins to strengthen. She learns not just how to find answers, but how to form her own questions that challenge unjust norms, expose inequalities, and push boundaries. In classrooms where girls are invited to participate, to lead group discussions, and to present their viewpoints, they gradually build the confidence to speak louder in a world that often pressures them to stay silent. This growth in intellectual and emotional confidence is deeply significant, especially in cultures or communities where girls are still seen as secondary, where their thoughts are considered less valuable than those of their male peers, and where ambition in a girl can be mistaken for arrogance. In such environments, education acts as a powerful equalizer. It teaches girls that intelligence has no gender, and that their perspectives are not only valid but needed in shaping a better world. When girls are educated, they begin to imagine possibilities that once seemed unreachable. They start to dream bigger, to picture themselves as scientists, writers, entrepreneurs, lawyers, leaders, or change makers. They develop the ability to make informed decisions, to advocate for themselves and others, and to stand up for what they believe is right. They become less dependent on others to interpret the world for them, and more capable of navigating its complexities on their own terms. And even if a girl ultimately chooses a path that aligns with more traditional roles, becoming a full-time mother or caregiver, her education remains invaluable. It does not go to waste, as some may mistakenly believe. On the contrary, her learning enhances every aspect of her life. She will parent with greater insight, solve problems with creativity, and manage family life with intelligence and intention. Most importantly, she will have made that choice freely based on her own values, dreams, and priorities, not because it was the only path available to her. This distinction between choosing a role and being confined to one is vital. Education gives girls agency. It allows them to live deliberately, not passively. It empowers them to say, "This is what I want," rather than "this is all I was allowed." Moreover, an educated girl serves as a living example to others, her sisters, daughters, peers, and neighbors. She becomes a role model who proves that self-worth and intellect are not traits to be hidden, but to be celebrated. Her voice, once small, becomes a force that others listen to. Her dreams, once dismissed, become blueprints for a better, more inclusive future. In essence, when we educate girls, we are not just teaching them to read or write. We are giving them the tools to understand themselves and the world in a deeper, more meaningful way. We are cultivating their minds, strengthening their spirits, and building a society where every girl knows she is capable, valuable, and powerful just as she is. 5. Education protects girls from exploitation and harm. In many parts of the world, the absence of education leaves girls particularly vulnerable to a wide range of exploitation and harm. Without the basic protection that knowledge provides, countless girls are at risk of being pushed into early marriage, sold into human trafficking, trapped in cycles of child labor, or subjected to emotional, physical, or sexual abuse. These dangers are not just distant statistics, they are grim realities that unfold every day, especially in communities where girls are seen as burdens rather than individuals with potential. A girl who is denied education may never learn what her rights are, how to identify exploitation, or where to seek help. She may grow up unaware that she deserves bodily autonomy, that her dreams matter, or that she can say no to abuse and injustice. In contrast, an educated girl stands on much firmer ground. She is equipped with the tools to protect herself mentally, physically, and emotionally. She learns about her legal rights and understands the systems designed to support her. She knows how to access healthcare, report violence, or challenge harmful practices. Importantly, education gives her the language and confidence to articulate what is happening to her and the courage to speak up. This ability to recognize, name, and resist harm can be life-saving. For example, reproductive health education, often controversial in some regions, is vital in helping girls understand their bodies, menstrual cycles, and how to prevent pregnancy or sexually transmitted diseases. This knowledge not only reduces health risks, but also protects girls from being manipulated or coerced. Lessons about consent and respectful relationships give girls a strong foundation for demanding dignity in their interactions, whether with peers, employers, or romantic partners. Understanding that they have agency over their own bodies and that no one has the right to take that away is a profound shift that can radically change the course of their lives. Emotional protection is equally important. Girls who are educated are more likely to develop self-esteem, resilience, and a sense of worth that makes them less susceptible to manipulation, bullying, or shame. When they are taught to think critically and to value their own voice, they are less likely to believe those who tell them they are inferior, unworthy, or incapable. They are less likely to stay in harmful situations or relationships because they know they deserve better. Moreover, education gives girls access to networks, friends, mentors, teachers, and organizations that can act as lifelines. These connections create a safety net of support that is often unavailable to uneducated or isolated girls. A single teacher noticing signs of distress, a counselor providing guidance, or a classmate sharing information about resources can change the outcome of a girl's story. The protective benefits of education extend far beyond the classroom. When girls are educated, entire communities become safer and more just. They are less likely to perpetuate violence, tolerate inequality, or stay silent in the face of injustice. They are more likely to raise children who respect human rights, who challenge harmful traditions, and who build kinder, more inclusive futures. In this way, education is not simply about academic achievement, it is about safety, dignity, and survival. It is about equipping girls with the armor of knowledge in a world that too often tries to render them defenseless. Education doesn't just empower girls to dream, it shields them from nightmares. Indeed, knowledge is power, and in the case of girls' education, it is also protection. When a girl is educated, she becomes harder to silence, harder to exploit, and harder to harm. She becomes more aware, more assertive, and more equipped to build a life on her own terms. And that, ultimately, is what makes education one of the most powerful safeguards a girl can ever have. 6. Education enables girls to contribute to society. An educated girl doesn't just uplift herself, she brings value to everyone around her. She becomes a more informed voter, a more engaged citizen, a more compassionate leader, a more creative problem solver. Whether she becomes a teacher, doctor, entrepreneur, or activist, her presence is a source of strength and progress in her community. She can mentor younger girls, advocate for justice, and create ripple effects of empowerment. Figures like Malala Yousafzai, Michelle Obama, and Nguyen Phan Thu remind us that when girls are educated, entire societies benefit. The return on investing in girls' education is not only personal, it is national and even global. 7. Education is never wasted, regardless of the path a girl takes. One of the most deeply rooted and damaging myths about girls' education is the notion that if she's just going to get married and stay at home, why bother educating her? This idea reflects a narrow and outdated understanding of both education and womanhood. It suggests that learning is only valuable if it results in a salary, a corporate title, or professional status. It implies that domestic roles, motherhood, or caregiving are somehow inferior tasks unworthy of intellect, knowledge, or preparation. But this belief not only devalues women's potential, it profoundly misunderstands the purpose and power of education itself. Education is not just about preparing someone to enter the workforce. It is about shaping critical thinkers, compassionate citizens, and capable individuals who can contribute meaningfully to every area of life, both public and private. Whether a woman chooses to become a doctor, a teacher, an entrepreneur, or a full-time homemaker, her education enhances her ability to lead a thoughtful, empowered, and purposeful life. It equips her with the tools to make informed decisions, solve problems creatively, and raise her voice when needed. These are not just career skills, they are life skills. For women who take on the role of managing a household and raising children, education is just as vital. An educated mother is more likely to foster an environment of curiosity, emotional intelligence, and open dialogue within her home. She will be better prepared to guide her children's learning, help with their schoolwork, and encourage their ambitions. She will understand the importance of nutrition, healthcare, and emotional well-being, and make decisions that support her family's long-term welfare. She will be able to navigate financial planning, understand contracts, and advocate for her rights and those of her loved ones. Furthermore, a woman who has had access to education is less likely to accept abuse or mistreatment as normal. She is more likely to recognize toxic patterns, seek support, and know how to assert her dignity. She is also more likely to pass on these values of strength and self-worth to her children, especially her daughters, thus creating a cycle of empowerment that can last for generations. Education also gives women flexibility and resilience. Life is unpredictable. A woman who is educated can adapt when circumstances change. If she ever needs to return to work after years at home, she will have the confidence and foundation to learn new skills. If she chooses to start her own business, her education will give her the structure and foresight to succeed. If she decides to take on leadership roles in her community or advocate for a cause she believes in, her learning will support her voice and vision. In reality, there is no path in life that does not benefit from education. Whether in the boardroom, the classroom, the kitchen, or the community, knowledge is a source of strength. To suggest that girls only need education if they plan to work outside the home is to diminish the value of unpaid labor, of motherhood, of caregiving, and of the full human experience of women. It traps women in a one-dimensional identity and prevents society from benefiting from their full potential. Ultimately, educating girls is not about forcing them into one specific future. It is about giving them the freedom to choose any future they want. Whether that choice leads them into a career or into family life or both, their education empowers them to live with confidence, clarity, and dignity. Education doesn't just prepare girls for the job market. It prepares them to be thoughtful, resilient human beings, capable of adapting, growing, and leading in any environment, whether at home, in the workplace, or in the world. Conclusion: educating girls is an investment in the future. Women are not born to be confined by stereotypes or limited by expectations. They are born with equal capacity for intelligence, creativity, strength, and leadership. They deserve the same chances as anyone else to explore their talents, define their identities, and pursue the lives they truly want, not the ones others prescribe for them. Education is the bridge between who a girl is told to be and who she has the potential to become. It gives her not only knowledge, but confidence, curiosity, and courage. It teaches her to speak up when the world tells her to stay quiet. It gives her the ability to earn her own income, make informed choices, and stand tall in the face of injustice. Education is what allows a girl to become the author of her own life story. But the impact of girls' education does not stop with individual success. When we educate girls, we strengthen entire families, communities, economies, and nations. We build healthier societies, reduce poverty, and move closer to achieving gender equality. Every girl who walks into a classroom is taking a step not only for herself, but for generations to come. And still, millions of girls around the world are denied this basic right, not because they lack ability, but because they lack opportunity. Cultural biases, poverty, conflict, and outdated beliefs continue to keep girls out of school. This is not just a tragedy, it is a preventable injustice. So rather than asking, why do girls need to study so much? We must shift the conversation entirely. We should ask, what kind of world do we want to build? And can we ever reach it if girls are left behind? The answer is clear. We cannot. A better world depends on girls learning, leading, and thriving. Educating girls is not an act of charity, it is an act of justice. It is not a favor we grant, it is a right we honor. And it is not a cost, it is the most powerful investment we can make in a brighter, more equitable future for everyone. When we educate a girl, we don't just change her life, we change the world. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.